It's your boy Sleepy J. You tuned into the Know It All Sports podcast. I'm your host, Sleepy J. My co-host over here is
Coach Rudy, and we are coming live 8:30 in the morning from Los Angeles, California.
those is
Aren't
not
we?
that's not facts. You have your time all wrong, sir.
But we're in Los Angeles, aren't we?
We're lost.
In the Angeles.
Hey, perception is reality. If you want to say it's Los Angeles, I guess so.
Okay, let me be honest. We're in Canada. I
Damn
just
it.
didn't want to say it.
Damn Canada.
Or are we?
Pirate radio.
Do-do-do, do-do-do.
Anyways, guys, we are back with our nonsense. As you can tell, we got a lot of things to go over. And yes, there is a game going on because we are late, and we don't need your judgment. We already judged ourselves, and we were pretty harsh about it.
Look, we had things to do. And yes, we love doing this, and we would do it on a more timely basis, but you're not donating enough.
Facts, though. Although we have officially made $1, so that's
Sweet.
We can no longer say we have not made $1 from the podcast.
We are actually paid now. Paid radio.
We're gonna get into a lot of stuff. The Green Bay and Arizona game is on right now, but we will talk about picks here in just a moment. I do want to bring up, before we get too far into the podcast, rumors about coaches going to college. Mike Tomlin, the coach from the Steelers.
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, from the Steelers. They keep saying that he might go college, and I just bring this up because I loved his response of he's only going to answer this one time only. Don't ask me this again from here on out. I love
never. You never say never, but is never gonna happen.
Yeah, and he said that he has the best job in sports. So.
Yeah, and you know what? I loved the fact that he threw out some other prominent names out there in the football world, in the professional football world, to say, why aren't you throwing these things out there about them?
Right. Yeah, that definitely, especially I bring it up because we've talked about how Urban Meyers might go back to college. And so I think that that's just kind of funny that I guess they've talked about it, but they keep talking about Mike Tomlin. And I don't think Tomlin's done a bad job over there. So.
No, he's won a couple titles, and even still,
he's still playoff bound most seasons too, right?
He's never had a season worse than 8-8.
So there you go. I don't know why they keep doing it to him, but I just appreciated that. It was entertaining to me. We can go on with the show.
Yeah, so, you know, he's one of a handful of black head coaches that's been at his position for a while.
Right.
I know we had... was a Marv Levy for Cincy
Levi,
for a while.
Yeah.
But he didn't necessarily do a great job there. I mean, I know they went to some playoff games or whatever. I don't know. I always thought that they underperformed his squads. But, I mean, legitimately, Pittsburgh usually wins its division.
Yeah.
And they've been relevant since the whole tenure of Tomlin, even whenever they're not great, they've never had a losing season under him.
Skip Bayless mentioned how he's tenure, and that's weird that they keep doing that for someone that's been in the league for as long as he has.
Yeah, and you would generally do that with the idea of, oh, you were a former player there, you might like it.
Yeah.
No, he has no ties to USC at all.
Right.
Now, even if USC loved him,
right,
what's that got to do with him?
Right. Also, you were talking about black coaches. Wasn't the Browns' former coach the one that right before, when Baker first got there? Wasn't he? He was a black coach too. I believe.
Look,
I don't
honestly,
remember his name.
They go through so many coaches in Cleveland. I don't remember who they got. I mean, they literally every year or every other year they switch coaches.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of why they haven't had a successful.
That is a huge reason why they failed. Look, let me break it down to you right now. We weren't going to talk about this, but let's talk about this. There is a reason why Cleveland football has been unsuccessful since the 90s. Pretty much since Bernie Kosar was there.
Yeah.
So, look, when Cleveland gets a quarterback, well, and they usually draft pretty high because they usually suck.
Right.
And they've gotten so many number ones, first round quarterbacks. Whether you're talking about Tim Couch, whether you're talking about Jimmy Clausen, whether you're talking about this guy Baker Mayfield.
Right.
What usually happens, Derek Anderson, I don't think he was a first rounder, but he had a decent little run with him.
Right.
What usually happens to the Cleveland quarterbacks, if they don't look like stars after year one,
right,
people's eyes are already at, okay, well, we need somebody else. He obviously isn't it. Yeah. And then in year two, they haven't advanced much, so they're out the door.
Yeah.
They don't have a quarterback there that lasts the full 3 years to see, okay, you for real.
Right.
Because they run them out. They're like, okay, you're not a star. Okay, you're not a star. And look, when you do that in football, if you would have thrown out players who did not succeed in year one,
right,
Troy Aikman never would have made it.
Right. Well, I think in a lot,
Peyton Manning never would have made it.
In a lot of sports, or just in a lot of positions in the world and jobs, like it takes you time to get your footing, and then to get to that intermediate level, and then to finally have a formula that actually works, regardless of what you're doing. If you're a manager of a restaurant, whether you have to get a feel for what you're working with. And then you have to start implementing the changes that you want.
Alex Smith was initially a bust in his first few years in San Francisco because in his first 4 years, he had 4 different offensive coordinators.
Right.
When you are not allowed to grow because they're switching the system on you, switching the coaches, not giving you the tools that you need.
Right.
I mean, what can you expect? Look, I'm not saying that all those guys, that the Jimmy Clausens would have been anything, that the Derek Andersons would have been anything, but you don't know what their potential was because you failed them too soon. You quit on them. They got dumped around the league. They served for as backups because now no one's going to give them a shot.
Right.
When you look at Sam Darnold, I think he's a primary example of a quarterback who's not bad.
Yeah.
But all he needs is an opportunity to show and to grow and to get better. Well,
right.
Yes, I know that Carolina's lost their last couple games, but you know what? He's showing out there he's a legit NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
Now, whether you're talking about starter or fringe backup,
right.
I mean, there's a lot of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, in the Sam Darnold situation, I think I never thought he was a bad quarterback. I just think there was always better quarterbacks.
And that's another story.
Yeah.
But either way, you need a time to develop.
Right.
And if you're not given the time to develop and the coaches to help hone your skills, your particular quarterbacking skills, because not every quarterback is cut from the same pattern.
Right. Yeah, I think for a coach position, especially if you're coming in and not part of that organization, you're just coming in as the head coach, I think you need at least 3, probably closer to 5 years to actually develop a system.
Well, it used to be said that if you pick the wrong quarterback in the first round, you set your team back 5 years because you would give your quarterback 5 years to develop, and then you'd be like, well, you obviously didn't, so then you switch. And so that's the idea behind it. Yeah. But with that said, Cleveland was giving their quarterbacks 1.5 years before they gave up. And you have to be able to recognize early on so you don't stick with somebody who doesn't deserve to be stuck with.
Yeah.
But when it's a consensus, hey, you were great in college, everybody would have picked you.
Yeah.
And that's what Cleveland usually got. Then you have to give those men 3 years, 4 years, and you have to let them know, look, I know it sucks this year. We're going to get you a left guard.
Right.
We're going to get you a receiver. We're going to get you a running back. So just be patient, learn the system, get better. We will also get you better tools.
Right.
And if you work with that concept, you'll have something. Yeah. That's better than what Cleveland's been having.
Yeah. I think you got to give it time. I mean, especially if they are.
Who are we talking about to start?
I don't know how we got on the quarterbacks, but we started out talking about coaches.
I know we were talking about Tomlin, but then
we were talking about how we were talking about black coaches, and then we got on to Cleveland because we were like, I don't remember which.
Oh, you brought them up.
Yeah.
And then I just took over. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Look, no, I'm not drunk. No, I'm not high. Don't do either of those things.
This is how conversations happen. You start somewhere, and then it just
what
goes.
What it is. Yeah. You go off on a tangent.
So, anyways, we'll go back to our scheduled program.
So look, Cleveland. Sorry, y'all suck. But it's the same in business. Yeah. You got to give your employees an opportunity to show what they can do. Yeah. But if you don't put them in the best position, they're not going to maximize their potential. When you look at Jeff Garcia, I don't know if you remember. Do you remember Jeff Garcia, quarterback for San Francisco? Early 2000s?
Yeah.
Okay. So Jeff Garcia led San Francisco to a couple of playoff runs. He got to a couple of Pro Bowls. He took Philadelphia to the playoffs 1 year. In between all this stuff, he started off in Dallas, and we didn't keep him. We cut him. So he goes to San Francisco.
Right.
And then he makes a couple Pro Bowls.
Yeah.
And people could look and say, man, well, that was dumb of Dallas. And to some extent it was, but also we didn't run the type of offense that would have benefited him.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have had that success here. He was a West Coast offense type of quarterback. His talents wouldn't have translated to pocket timing passes, meaning production for us.
Right.
Now, that said, in this transition in his career, when him and T.O. blew up San Francisco and T.O. was trying to insinuate that he was gay, and then he leaves San Francisco and all this kind of stuff, all that drama that T.O. brought to that situation.
Yeah.
Jeff Garcia ends up leaving San Fran, going to Cleveland for a year.
Yeah.
And he fails. And people are like, oh, well, I guess he really did suck.
Yeah, I think.
And then he went to Philly or something else. Like, he succeeded. I think he even played in Detroit and did well but he bounced around.
Yeah.
And he was successful when put in the positions to succeed.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at players, when you're looking at quarterbacks, but any player, there are very few that no matter what position or what system they're in are going to be great.
Right.
Most players need particular systems to maximize their potential.
Right.
Whether you're talking about 3-4 versus 4-3 versus 4-4 versus 5-2, whatever you're talking about.
Right.
You need the right player for those systems.
Right.
Otherwise, yeah, maybe they play there, but are they going to be as good as they otherwise could have been?
That goes back to what we said about Belichick in previous, where he takes you with what you're good at and tells you just
maximizes
it.
Yeah,
just to play that. Don't worry about anything else. We're not going to change your scheme. This is what you're good at. This is what I want you to do.
This is exactly what I'll use you for.
Yeah.
Now, so when we're talking about this, I think it leads right into one of our first topics. The Cowboys are hinting at keeping Steele at right tackle.
Yes.
And moving La'el Collins to left guard, which is going to end up benching Connor Williams.
Right.
That's their hint that they've been putting out there this week, where they're saying Steele is the starter and insinuating that La'el may switch to guard.
Right.
What do you think about that? Do you think it's a wise thing to do? I mean, Connor has been called for more holds than half the league.
Yeah.
By himself.
I for one, when I first heard about it, I was thinking about Collins losing his position. That's the way I first took it. But a stronger player in the right place, it makes more sense. Like if you're cutting back on your penalties, the way I look at it, and where I work, I always say like at first I was thinking like I was getting punished by being like moved from where I wanted to be played at or where I wanted to work at, and then they started putting me around. And I was like, I don't know that I'm necessarily being punished, or I'm just that more of you're flexible. You can
more
work,
versatile.
Yeah, you can work this position or that position better than someone that else. Like it's not that they couldn't do it, you're just better at it, and that's why I can move you around. And I think that's where Collins lines up. Like, you know what? You're better than the guy that's playing it just because you're just better skilled in general.
Now, I'm going to say this. I wouldn't personally make this move. I would put Steele back on the bench.
Yeah.
Put Lyle back at his right tackle position.
Okay.
But I would pull Connor McGovern and replace him as the guard instead of Connor Williams.
Okay.
I mean, he plays guard. He played guard well week 1 in replace of our other guard that was out for COVID protocol.
Yeah.
So when I say that, to me that makes more sense than moving a tackle over to play guard.
Right.
Now, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean...
and they could have just put all this out there because next week on Tuesday is the trade deadline.
Right.
Maybe they're trying to give people a look at what Lyle Collins looks like as a guard, because maybe there's teams out there that say, hey, do you think if we trade for him, we can move him here? Yeah. And maybe this is just an audition for that. Yeah. Or maybe there's teams calling about Connor Williams, say, look, I know Connor's in a down year, but we can send you a 4th-round pick. Yeah. And then maybe they're like, okay, yeah, you know what? I don't want to get him hurt, so let's go ahead and sit him out. And
speaking of the trade deadline, to get off subject just slightly.
Again.
You know, we've the controversy around the Houston quarterback. Deshaun, yeah. There was rumors that the trade was coming, and obviously because the deadline was coming. I'm just curious, do you think that it was possible that they're actually speaking about a trade, or you think it's because he wanted to get people talking and the idea of maybe he can force a trade by speaking it up again?
Jerry Jones is very famous for using the idea that deadlines make deals.
Yeah.
So it's very possible that, all right, nobody was rushing because no one wanted to overplay their hand.
Yeah.
And now with the deadline being here,
yeah,
they're like, yeah, okay, yeah, we're serious. We really need them, or we want them.
Right.
And I think that Houston's petty.
Yeah.
And they really aren't afraid to say, to hell with it.
Yeah.
We'll keep him and not play him.
Right.
But I think there's some in their office who say, look, that's kind of stupid. Let's trade him if we can.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they've kept the bill so high.
I think, personally, if it was me, I would probably trade him for the best that I could, whether it's 2 or 3 first-rounders. I'd trade him for whatever I could get, especially just to get him off of my roster and not be worried about him if he winds up actually getting charges.
Yeah, I think what they're afraid of is to look like fools by no charges being done, no suspension, and then he goes and wins a Super Bowl for somebody, and they got, a bag of Doritos and a 4th-round pick.
Yeah.
I think that's what they're concerned with. They don't want to be the fool. But for my money, I am not afraid to get rid of someone who doesn't want to be here.
That's the other thing. He doesn't want to be there either, so there's that too.
Yeah.
Although, do you want to be somewhere where you've been all these accusations?
Well, those are actually from around the nation.
Well,
all right.
Disassociating, just like Facebook is changing their name, he just wants to change teams and be like, oh,
I mean, sometimes you're in a better situation by doing that. And look, these are allegations. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're true. Yeah. I know we want to be sensitive to victims and everything, but I think at the same time, we've also seen athletes who have been victimized. Yeah. So I don't know what happened. I'm not pretending to know what happened. I don't know if
not
he actually
light of
did
the situation either. We're just going off of what
hurt
we know.
Somebody. I'm just saying, God will punish people who've done bad things. The law will come after you if you've done bad things.
Right.
And if he has, well, that's his career. And if he hasn't, hopefully he does get vindicated. Right. And if there are victims, well, my heart goes out to you. Hopefully he gets what's coming to him if that happened. Now, let's move forward a little bit.
Yep.
How worried are you about Dax injury?
I'm very worried in the sense that I don't like our backup.
What? You don't like Cooper Rush?
I mean, I know I've boasted so much about him in the preseason about how good he wasn't. But no, yeah, seriously, the speculations that Dak may not come out, I don't like it. I think I don't know. You said when we were off the air that if they bench him, that you're out on the season because they're playing scared.
Yeah, I fully believe that. So let me expound on that. If the Dallas Cowboys choose to err on the side of caution for Dak Prescott's leg, for his calf,
yeah,
without any guarantees that he will be better in a week or 2 weeks by him not playing,
yeah,
then I think they're selling their season short because they're no longer playing for the first seed.
Right.
They're no longer playing for the second seed. They're only playing to win their division. And if you're only playing for the bare minimum to get inside the dance, you don't believe in your team enough.
Right.
I believe that you need to play to position yourself in the best spot always.
Right.
And right now, the Cowboys are in a real spot that could lead them to the number 1 overall seed.
Yeah.
And if they give up on that, just because their quarterback has a calf strain.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't invest in a backup quarterback.
Yeah, I think we were just talking about the trade deadline. I would explore the idea of picking up somebody, but I am someone that completely hates Cooper Rush. So you can take that how you want to.
I don't hate Cooper. I don't know Cooper. I hate him as a quarterback option. The dude is not good.
Well, yeah, that's where I'm going. I don't know the guy either, but yeah, I don't like him as my backup.
Cooper Rush is not a good quarterback. He was the best from what we had in the quarterback competition this offseason.
Right.
But that doesn't make him good. He's the worst. He's the best of the worst quarterbacks in the league. I'm not saying that he can't outthrow me. Look, once again, I'm not a quarterback. Never pretended to be. Well, but what I'm saying is Cooper Rush is a bad quarterback. And if the Cowboys had a Nick Foles, a Andy Dalton, if they had a legitimate backup quarterback, and then they were concerned about this calf strain, I'm like, sit him.
Right.
Sit him these next 3 weeks. Look, my personal thoughts, I wasn't worried about Minnesota.
Yeah.
You have Dak. I thought, look, we'll win. I know a lot of people are trying to pick this game for Dallas for the bottom to fall out.
Yeah.
I'm actually more worried about Denver next week because I think Denver next week is one of those trap games where you let your guard down.
Yeah.
This Minnesota game coming off of a bye week, I was looking at it as everyone's going to be focused.
Right.
You get your best effort. It was that Denver game that was like, if we blow a game, I could see it being Denver, and I don't think that Denver's a good team. I just like that was what was ticking in my mind.
I could see what you're saying with that. Like I wasn't concerned about it until the speculation that Cooper Rush might play.
With the lines in Las Vegas flipping it 5 points. Yeah, that makes you think, okay, who knows what? Why are they?
Yeah. I definitely, the idea that I don't think I actually had a game that I was really concerned with that was coming up, because I think as we were going, I was like, I think we're going to be pretty solid for a while. It wasn't this early, in my opinion. I get when the weeks get shorter, that's typically whenever I start to get a little bit more concerned. Whenever like, oh yeah, we don't have a bye week anymore. We're playing on Sunday and then again on Thursday, and then so that for me is when I usually around Thanksgiving, it's typically when I get worried for us.
I think another reason why it bothers me with the idea of benching him. Pretty much, if you can walk, you can play.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of what can you physically do. Because as a quarterback, you're in the pocket.
Right.
You're not running 40-yard dashes.
Right.
So what you need to do is very different than any other position. A calf strain on Amari Cooper is different than a calf strain on someone who's moving around in a 5-yard area. Yeah. Now, we also, though, grew up watching different types of quarterbacks.
Right.
You get hurt, you were in the next week.
Yeah.
What was it? Air McNair. He went a whole season of not practicing.
Yeah.
Because he had back injuries. He was always listed as questionable for, I think, the year after he won his co-MVP with Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
He was injured the whole season, played every game, took them to the playoffs.
Right.
And on Sunday, he came to play.
I was going to say, I think for a season or two, Kurt Warner played with like 2 broken fingers and was still throwing touchdowns and winning.
Yeah, he did that mess.
And so, I mean,
that's
actually more important than your calf when you're talking about a quarterback position.
And that was actually the end of his tenure in St. Louis. That's actually kind of what ended up pushing him out, because he didn't look as spectacular as what he had been.
Yeah.
And that's what gave room for Mark Bolger to take over and all that kind of mess.
Right.
Which kind of sucks, because it worked against him, even though he still did decent with it.
Right.
Now, that's actually interesting that you bring up Kurt Warner.
I don't know if I like this.
And I know, because my mind's like forgetting why I said that. So you brought up Kurt Warner, and he obviously is a Hall of Fame quarterback now, right?
Right.
Won a Super Bowl in St. Louis, took the Cardinals to the Super Bowl, played in the Giants for a little bit in between that. Eli Manning coming there. Well, this was the thing with Kurt Warner. When he was in St. Louis, he wasn't as good of a quarterback as what he was when he was in Arizona.
Okay.
Because when he was in St. Louis, this is what happened. He was out there, and he had some great receivers. Who was it? Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce, right?
Yeah.
And then you had another guy that was pretty good too. I think Jakes or something.
I don't remember the receiving core. I remember.
But you had Marshall Faulk. Well, anyways, in his first season, when he took y'all to the Super Bowl, his receivers gave him room. No. Marshall Faulk.
No. Okay. Anyway, go ahead.
His receivers gave him room to mess up. He didn't have to be perfect. So he didn't have to clean up little mistakes.
Yeah.
Because the receivers bailed him out because they were so great. And y'all went on and won the Super Bowl.
Right.
Next year, y'all go lose to the Patriots in the championship, but still were called the greatest show on turf, right?
Yeah.
So he had his little run where he didn't have to perfect his quarterback skills because he won so early in his career.
Right.
Then he gets hurt, doesn't look as crisp, gets run out of town, goes to the Giants. He's hurt while he's playing there, and then they draft Manning to replace him anyways.
Right.
So he doesn't really get a chance to succeed. But then when he gets to Arizona and he's healthy, he leads them to a Super Bowl.
Right.
Loses in a classic to Pittsburgh. It looked like they were about to win and then end up losing or whatever, toe touch, end zone. And I say this because Kurt's not the only one that this has happened with.
Right.
There have been plenty of quarterbacks who had flaws in their game.
Yeah.
But their receivers actually bailed them out. And Patrick Mahomes is like that.
I was waiting to see where this was going.
So Patrick Mahomes comes in, first season don't play.
Right.
Next season goes to the AFC Championship game. Right. Next season Super Bowl, wins it. Next season Super Bowl, loses it.
Right.
This season, he's getting exposed.
Yeah.
He's getting exposed because he didn't clean up all those little flaws that he had because his receivers were so wide open.
Right.
It didn't matter for the first 3 seasons that he played.
Right.
They were so far ahead of everybody.
Right.
That he was able to become the best quarterback in the league without fixing his flaws.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers did that for a while too, but Aaron sat and he didn't have as many flaws. It was more of the fact that he just relied more on his arm talent than on his lower body and how quarterbacks generally have to position themselves.
Yeah.
So the foundation of his throws.
Right.
So Aaron Rodgers went through a 2-3 year lull.
Right.
Where he wasn't looking as sharp. He wasn't as crisp. But that was because he never fixed that about his game because for so much of his early years, he didn't have to.
Right.
Right now, the Chiefs have found themselves in this weird position that their golden boy quarterback, who's generally thought of to be the best quarterback in the league, is not living up to the contract.
Yeah.
The idea of his greatness.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just that Kurt Warner thing.
Yeah.
That you got the talent.
Yeah.
And you had the receivers.
Right.
Well, now I think in Kansas City, they're in the position where they're a little bit cocky. Kelsey's not trying as hard.
Yeah.
Hill's hurt and he's not putting it all out there.
Yeah.
Like he otherwise normally would.
Yeah.
And Kansas City's losing.
Yeah, I think I want to backtrack to the Dak thing real quick. Aaron Rodgers did play a couple years ago, limping all season.
I remember that.
As a matter of fact, I think that was Dak's first year or the year before Dak got there. But he still played the whole season with that leg problem that he had. I think it was a knee problem. So he still did that. McCarthy was his coach at that time. So I would say that it would say a whole lot of how you view Dak if you allowed one to play and said, no, we're not going to play this one. Whether you want to outright say it or subliminally, that's what you're saying. That's just my take on that. But as far as for the Mahomes situation, I think there's a lot of factors into what's going on. Coach did leave one game going to the hospital. I don't know how much that has the effect of what's being done in practice, if he's taking it easier on himself to take it easier on the team. Team's been really good for the last 4 years. So in my experience in playing in locker rooms, when your team is doing really well, it only is a matter of time before you start to buy into your own hype and you just kind of start
playing
relaxing.
sloppy.
Yeah, you just start relaxing a little bit, thinking, we're good. We know we're good. We're going to make it to playoffs regardless. Like, when you have that mentality, people party a little bit more. They don't practice as much as the dedication, the hunger that you have just starts to slowly
dissipate. Yeah. And when you say that, you look at in the history of sports, of the NFL in particular, eventually you get there with everybody, with every great franchise except Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Because Pittsburgh has always gone in there and said, this is what we do. We run the ball, we play defense. Right. Well, then, Roethlisberger, they kind of changed things up for him, and they threw more, and it kind of threw off the dynamics. But from the 70s through the 2000s, they're like, with our formula, we will win. We may not win every year, but we will win, and they won.
Right.
With the Patriots over Bill Belichick's tenure, kind of same mentality.
Yeah.
We gonna do us, and we're gonna be steady, and we're gonna win how we win.
Yeah.
But every other team, for the most part, you have these ups and downs because these guys, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
To keep living up with.
Yeah.
And not everyone has it in them to do that.
The unfortunate part is if you are, let's say, like, we'll take the Kansas City, for example. It's not unfortunate for them. They worked their way up. We watched them. They went to the championship. Then they went to the Super Bowl, and then they won
and
one,
they
and
won
they lost one. Yeah. So you see that progress. But then you have, let's take the Cowboys, for instance. We've won a few games. And if you're okay with just winning a few games and you start fucking up now, that's a bad situation.
And that's why I don't want them to bench Dak.
Yeah.
And I know it'll be like, oh, it's not being benched. We're trying to save him. Save him for what? If you don't make it to the first, if you don't get that first round bye, I don't know how far you get in the playoffs.
And I mean, we're coming off a bye. Like, for me personally, I'd be like, well, if he got injured in the last game, he's already had a week off. He probably wasn't doing a whole lot in practice in the first place.
Yeah, they were treating it the whole 2 weeks.
Yeah, so I feel like he probably should be all right. Some of these injuries, unless you have like a real tear or something like that.
And I'm going to say it like this. Let's say that he ends up making, blowing his Achilles.
Yeah.
Well, you weren't ever going to win with him this year anyways.
Yeah.
If he ends up really getting injured severely, he wasn't going to win this year. So what are you saving him for?
Right. Especially whenever everyone had him in question in the first place. Everyone was questioning, does he come back? If he does he perform?
Can he come back from that gruesome break?
Exactly. So
yeah, that's my thing. So if Dak isn't in this week, then I don't see the Cowboys going to the Super Bowl. You'll make the playoffs, but I'm not putting my hopes behind you. Here's the funny thing, though, with it, Jay. When the Cowboys make this decision, if they play him the way I would coach it, same way that I've been wanting them to coach the rest of the games, you get a 3-touchdown lead, put Cooper Rush in there so he can gain experience.
Yeah. You know what? That actually, especially if we have him in question as it is, if we have Dak in question, you need to start thinking of your contingency plan. And the idea of, okay, he's made it this far and he's doing all right, but if he goes down, we need to know this backup.
That somebody can handle the control. Yeah. Take control of the steering wheel.
Can pick up, and whether it happens at the beginning of the game or the end of the game or middle of the game, you can handle the stakes of it.
Yeah. For me, if the Cowboys were to have a 3-touchdown lead at halftime, second half, I'm sending out there Cooper Rush.
Right.
And I'm opening up the playbook. I'm not saying here we're going to babysit you, hand the ball off, right. We'll punt, hand the ball off, No, because we need to know that you can play.
Right.
But that's what they should have been doing when they faced Philly, when they were up on the Giants. They needed to keep their foot on the gas, and then in the fourth quarter, say, Cooper, keep it up. See what you can do. Because that's how you build the other talent on your team.
Also, just the idea of that is you give him the experience, the other players learn that, what you're willing to do and how you're going to be able to pick it up and keep going. Playing in the shadow is just that. You're playing in the shadow. You don't actually develop your own character, your own swagger. And I think that's one of the things that everyone's talking about, the swagger of the team. And if you're not actually there to do it, I don't see how that benefits anybody. I think this is a good opportunity to start exploring this idea. And had they done it like you were saying, maybe we're not in the situation where we're worried about, can Dak go on? Do we need to worry about saving him? Because you would have lessened those chances for that injury to have happened in the first place.
Okay, so a couple things. We're going to get to FS and BS right now. Last topic that I wanted to bring up was all right, so Chucky got fired because of emails that he was sending to staff members on the Washington football team, right? So the NFL came out with a statement at the owners' meeting saying something to the effect of, look, we're not going to release any further emails because we want to protect those who came out with stories. Yeah. We want to protect their identities, and we can't protect them if we release these emails.
Right.
They were hinting that they were protecting the women who came forth.
Right.
And then, immediately after they made that statement, former workers of the Washington football team, former employees, women, who were involved in this email fact-finding mission, came out and said, who are you protecting? Go ahead and put it out. And the NFL was being silent on it. My stance on the NFL's idea that they are pro-women, that they care about women, is that the NFL does not. And the reason that you can know that, aside from scandals like this,
I was going to say all the different cases that have been brought up over the years.
Aside from that, is something that we talked about several weeks ago. They don't pay their cheerleaders jack.
Yeah.
You are a $15 billion a year industry.
Right.
And your cheerleaders are teachers who get paid pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
And have all these high restrictions. So I don't want to hear anything from the NFL that says, look, we respect women and blah, blah, blah. Right. No, because you don't.
Yeah, that's very true. I've heard, actually, from the cheerleaders that I've known personally, I think it was the Rams team that said they didn't get paid, that they were expected to live off the publicity that they got for being a Rams cheerleader. So they would get you can do engagements as long as it doesn't involve our schedule. And you can be like, oh, Rams cheerleaders are going to be at Hooters today or whatever the case. And that's where they were allowed to make money. So there's that. And I could be wrong as far as for the Rams. But also speaking about the NFL, randomly I was watching an interview. You remember that show, Playmakers? We fucking loved that show.
Yeah, you're talking about Omar.
Yeah, did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was just funny because he was saying how basically they had really great ratings. The show was doing really well. ESPN really liked it. But what wound up happening was the NFL was like, yeah, we don't like that. And they were like, so
I had actually heard that way back when. Yeah. That the NFL was really mad as the show was progressing that first year.
I remembered that being I remember hearing that, but I didn't realize. It was a great show. Yeah. I remember at this point I remember I liked the show and I would watch the show if I could, but I don't remember the show anymore. I just remember that it
actually
really
was out whenever I lived in St. Louis.
Yeah, that was part of what we were doing whenever you were there. But anyways, and nothing to do with that topic. I just was bringing it up because the point was that they're a $1 billion company and they will enforce their power through their money.
Narrative. Yeah.
And that's where I was going with that. I definitely think that we have plenty of examples of women in the NFL, whether you're talking about wives of players, girlfriends of players, the cheerleaders, commentators that have been just silenced,
mistreated.
And told, we could go on for days on just saying how the NFL will definitely, what was it? Jamil Hill pretty much forced out of her position at ESPN because they didn't like her siding with the players and wanting them to do their protesting or calling out the owners for their
positions. Yeah.
So that.
All right. So FS or BS?
Yes.
Time for that. Your favorite segment and mine. Mine is ranking running backs. All right. FS or BS? Baker Mayfield should get his surgery on his broken shoulder now and not in the offseason.
For sure. Definitely say that. Mostly because, I mean, the way I see it is I'd rather get it done and out of the way than to be prolonging a situation. Also, I think if you're going to continue to play, you're probably going to risk greater injury in that situation. And he's got a solid backup that I think that, you know what, it's not going to be that much of a difference for the team to pick up and continue on.
So I'm going to agree with you, and I'm going to say for sure that he should do this. I don't know that he will do this.
Right.
Because I think part of the fear is that Case Keenum is going to show, wait, you're not very good anyways, or you're not much better than what I am, so why do they need you? Right. I think that's the fear.
I can see that.
So I don't know that he will do it, but I think if I was in his position, like, look, I'm up for a contract right now, so let me get this surgery now rather than me wait till the off season and then everyone's wondering, oh, how's his shoulder by the time the season starts?
Right.
If I get it now, say, look, we're not playing very well. You're not protecting me. We're not in a good spot. Let me get my surgery knocked out, and maybe I'm back before the end of the season.
Right.
So I can show you guys who I really can be, because he's got a broken shoulder.
Right.
It's not like Dax where it hurts, it's strained, and we don't know that it's a real injury type thing.
Yeah.
Because Dax, it's a real injury, minor, but for Dak, it's, oh, maybe it'll get worse. Well, no, what Baker has,
right,
will definitely get worse.
Yeah.
So if it's definitely going to get worse, you're only going to get incrementally better.
Right.
Because if you know right now, with 11 weeks left in the season, you're going to need surgery in the offseason.
Yeah.
To me, it does you no good and the team no good for you to try to play.
As we've said throughout the podcast today, I believe, scared money don't make money. Playing scared, trying to nurse it. No, honestly, even if you lose your starting position, which it seems since he's been there, he's been in jeopardy of losing it anyways.
Yep, because Cleveland.
Yeah. I feel like if you get your surgery taken care of, you'll definitely get another team that'll audition you next year.
Exactly.
And they'll be able to chalk it up. It's like, well, last year you were kind of hurt, but, you're solid whenever you're healthy.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So.
You can look at Denver. You can look all over the league at teams that would still be willing to take a chance on him.
Right.
And so for me,
yeah,
I'd say, look, I'm not helping you guys right now by being broken.
Right.
Let me get this surgery, and then we'll go forward.
Right, exactly. I think it's smarter, and I think he's done well enough that he should be able to still, as long as he doesn't get blown out while he's in recovery, he should still continue to keep his position. Yeah,
it's not like Case Keenum's gonna light the world on fire. So, the Chiefs dynasty has been halted. Yes. FS or BS?
I'm gonna say BS. I don't think it's halted. I think there's just a few things that need to be tweaked, whether it's in the locker room or players getting hungry again. And sometimes after a couple losses, a bye week will get you straight, get you to realize what you've been doing wrong. So I'm all in on Kansas City. I think they're a good team. I think that whatever's wrong is going to get corrected sooner or later.
So, for me, I'm going to say for sure. And it goes off of the idea that this team is about to hit a stretch of games.
Yeah.
Where they may not be able to come out.
Okay.
So they got the Giants this week.
Okay.
Then they face the Packers.
Yeah.
Packers are a solid team. Then they face the Raiders. Then they face the Cowboys.
Yeah.
So right now, Kansas City is 3-4.
Yeah.
Let's say that they beat the Giants and they end up 4-4.
Yeah.
Do you really expect, with the way the Chiefs have been playing, to be able to beat the Packers, the Raiders, and the Cowboys?
So out of the games that you just named, I was thinking that's 50-50. I feel like they'll win half of those.
All three. Yeah. Well, that's 3 games.
Well, no, I'm saying like you said 4.
I said the Giants.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm giving them that dub.
Yeah, you're giving them that. So then I still think that they could beat the Raiders. I don't know.
You think that they'll beat the Packers, the Raiders, or the Cowboys?
I think they'll beat the Raiders. I don't know that they'll beat.
Okay, but still.
Yeah.
What that will leave them is with 6 losses.
Yeah. That's going to put them on that wild card thing.
And then they'll still have to face the Chargers, the Raiders again, the Bengals, a couple games against the Broncos. They're going to have 8 losses, 9 losses by the time this thing is done.
I don't think they'll have
Okay, well, look at this. You said they'll split these next 4.
Yeah.
So that leaves them with 6 losses. Okay?
Yeah.
So then, after this next 4, then they host the Broncos, division rival. Then they have the Raiders again.
Yeah.
Okay? Then they have the Chargers again.
Okay.
Then they got the Steelers.
Okay.
They got the Bengals. And they got the Broncos.
Okay.
So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In those 6 games.
Yeah.
How many do you see them winning? 3, 4?
Yeah, you might be
That's
right.
my point.
Yeah.
So if they win 4, that gives them 8 losses.
That's true. I don't know. I still take them over all of them. Wounded wise, I think.
Look, they could still end up in the playoffs with a 9-8 record.
Yeah.
They could, realistically.
Yeah.
So, because there's 7 teams now.
Right.
So they could be that 7th team, and going into the playoffs, no one wants to face them.
Right.
Because you'll be like, well, maybe they'll be back to what they were last year.
Right.
So they'll be a threat. But for me, from what I've seen of Kelsey, from what I've seen of Hill, from what I see of the team as a whole, I think this season they're done. And I think they kind of need a rethink of their offensive philosophy because they're not getting open anymore.
Yeah.
Hill hasn't lost a step, but he's not open like he was the last 3 years. And the team as a whole isn't in those, man, how did they leave him alone positions anymore?
Right.
So this quarterback needs to fix his little issues.
Yeah.
But also the coaching staff needs to put this team in a position to win. And you know this coaching staff has had issues the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Being all up in the news.
Yeah. I think, honestly, I'm more or less looking at, out of all those, I count the Raiders out. I don't think that they're...
You don't think that the Raiders beat them in either game?
No.
It's a divisional team, and the Raiders are actually playing well, and you telling me that the Raiders are going to lose twice to the Chiefs?
Yes. I believe that. I don't think that the Raiders are a better team, even with a wounded Kansas City team. I don't like the
Raiders. You used to like the Raiders.
I don't. Yeah.
To me, it doesn't seem like you're even saying this based off of the Raiders of today.
No, I'm
because the Raiders of today are not a bad team. Even if they're a 500 team, which they're playing better than a 500 team, Even if they were a 500 team,
well this year.
You should assume that they're going to split these games with Kansas City because they're divisional games. Now, if they only faced them once, you can say, okay, KC will get them. All right, whatever. But they got them home and home.
Yeah,
I don't see how, with the way these Chiefs are playing, you can say, oh, no, these Raiders are going to lose twice to them.
I'm honestly, Mike.
I think this is just like the whole Bengals thing.
No, it's quarterbacks. I'm just going off the quarterbacks.
Carr's a decent quarterback.
You say that. I don't.
You think he's a bad quarterback?
I think he's a...
I said decent. I didn't say great. I didn't say good. I said decent quarterback.
Okay. Yeah, he's decent, but I still have Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes got concussed last game, and they're trying to cover it up and say he wasn't.
Yeah.
I saw his eyes. I know a concussion when I see one.
Yeah, that made me worried. Yeah, I'm still. I don't care. I'm still.
Dude, I think you're just hating on him. I don't see you being objective on this.
No, I mean, I'm out of all the other ones. I'm not saying the same. I'm just saying with Raiders, I just see Kansas City as a better team. Yeah,
they're not playing it. So, all right.
We'll see.
The Patriots 50-point game that they put up 54 points last week.
Yeah.
The Patriots 50-point game is a sign that they are heading to a playoff run. FS or BS?
FS. I think for sure that's we seen when they played the Cowboys, we seen the start clicking for them. A lot of people were surprised to see them do so well this last game. But for me, I just looked at it. I was like, we've seen it. We've seen it, like, finally starting to... Like, it's slowly been starting to come together for them, so I'm not surprised by things like...
Well, that's what Belichick does.
Yeah.
He makes his teams progressively better throughout the year.
Yeah. We've also seen Belichick do this before, also, where a couple losses early on. You've mentioned that many times where... If you're going to beat them, you beat them early on. As the season goes on, it's harder and harder.
Exactly. I think this really did show what their potential can be. I'm not saying that, look, obviously it was against the Jets, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's you don't put up 50 points.
Right.
I mean, I think this whole season 2 teams have, Tampa Bay and them.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody else has. Maybe one other team. But either way, it's hard to score 40.
Right.
In this league, and that's with people scoring a lot.
I look at it like when you're, it's me and you always say, like, early on, I'd rather have losses early on than later on in the season.
Yeah.
Early on, I mean, and actually, it's kind of crazy because later on in the season, you're nursing health issues. You know, someone's got stubbed toes or calf injuries or whatever. But early on, I just look at it as like you can write it off. As the season goes on, I feel like it should be getting more intense.
You should be getting better as the season goes on. And that's part of the idea behind it. I'm gonna say FS for show, that they are making a playoff run. Whether they make it to the playoffs or not, that's another story. That Cowboy loss might have been the dagger that took them out, like that put them in too big of a hole to dig out of.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that they'll like run the table or anything from here on out.
No.
But I think that they're gonna give everybody a hell of a fight.
Yeah, it'll be for me. It'll be similar to the Lions. They're definitely in the game. You're not going to be able. You can't look at this as like, oh, they're still figuring things out. Like, no, they're going to be in the game from here on out.
All right. Fourth question. Injuries to the Lakers. Now, before we get into our picks for this week, injuries to the Lakers will prevent them from winning the NBA title this year. FS or BS? Remember, they're old now.
Yes, they are old. Injuries, I'm going to say for sure, if there are injuries, that will be what holds them. I don't think it'll be anything other than injuries that keeps them. If they can stay healthy to maintain, I think they'll be fine. I'm
going to say BS. I don't think it's going to be their own injuries that keep them from going there.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be that there's better teams out there, whether it's the Milwaukee Bucks again or the Golden State Warriors. I just think that right now they are built with too old of a team for them to build that continuity and that dominance that can otherwise be had.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say BS, but that doesn't mean that I think that the Lakers will win a title.
Yeah.
It means that I don't think that it's gonna be just because they're injuries or that's the main factor that's holding them back.
I think if anything, it'd be more of if LeBron's not in, that would be more of a factor that stops them than anything.
I think he's missed the last 2 games and possibly missing the next one. All right, so last question for FS or BS. Mike Tyson will knock out Logan Paul if they actually do fight. And that's based off the latest rumor that Logan and Mike T are going to actually fight.
So I'm actually gonna surprisingly I'm gonna say BS, and I'm gonna go with BS because Tyson today is not the Tyson of old.
He's an old Tyson.
Yeah, Tyson today he is more compassionate and more loving. Even though he loves the sport and he does it for the fun of it. Because he does it for the fun of it and not for the hunger of it, the need for the money as much as he once did, and wanting to prove his dominance. I think if they were to fight, he'll carry him. I think he won't actually go into. I mean, unless Jake Paul tries
to piss him off.
Yeah, I don't. If he tries the shenanigans that he does with other people, I think Tyson will actually slap the taste out of his mouth.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's why I'm going to say BS to it as well. Because I don't think that it's because Tyson can't knock him out.
Yeah.
I think he just will choose not to knock him out. Whether it's because he's carrying him or because it's in the contract that he's not to do that.
Right.
All right. So now, NFL picks. Green Bay versus Arizona. Tonight's game. I took Arizona, and you took
Green Bay.
And I think right now Green Bay's up 10-7. Is that right?
No, they're up 17 to. They're up by 3 points.
10-7.
14 to 17.
Oh, okay. Guess both teams scored. Okay, so for me, I actually love this game.
Yeah.
Because either way, it helps the Cowboys. Going with the idea that the Cowboys play Dak and that they're not melting in the season.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then Green Bay loses.
Yeah.
Then that starts their roll of losses that take them out of the path for the first round bye.
Okay.
If Arizona loses, well, that takes them off the path to get the first round bye because it gives them their first L.
Right.
So either way, I don't care what happens in this because it helps out the Cowboys.
In this situation, I honestly just went with Aaron Rodgers. That's what it came down to.
And I actually went to Arizona, who's just slightly more healthy than Green Bay. You know, Green Bay had a couple of their receivers out for COVID and one of their coaches out for COVID.
Yeah.
And Arizona, I know they lost Watt for the season, but aside from that, they're pretty healthy, and that's why I chose them.
Yeah.
And they were at home. If it would have been in Green Bay, I probably would have chose Green Bay.
I probably would have been more on Green Bay, but I just honestly came down to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. So Carolina at Atlanta. We both took Atlanta. Miami at Buffalo. You took Buffalo. I took Miami. Look, I know Buffalo's the better team.
Yeah.
It's just a rivalry game. I think Miami's playing a little bit better. Tua is trying to show his worth since everyone's trying to get rid of him for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
So
I was actually impressed by the last game for Tua, and I was actually thinking that it's kind of fucked up. I was like, because I know he was playing for his position.
Yeah.
Like, he's trying hard not to lose it and have Deshaun come in and say, okay, go back to the bench or go to another team.
Yeah. So I took Miami. I think it's kind of like my upset of the week type thing. Yeah. So San Francisco at Chicago.
Yes.
I took Chi-Town. You took San Fran.
Yes.
Any particular reason?
The quarterback position, not that I'm big on Jimmy, but the weapons that he has are his relationship with him and his weapons. I think I'm more confident in.
And we really don't even know who's playing for Chicago as far as their quarterback.
Yeah.
They keep flip flopping on. All right, well, I know we said that he's going to start, but we're afraid to start him. So I dig that. Pretty much it was because it was in Chicago.
Yeah.
That I took Chi-Town. Steelers at the Brownies. We both took the Browns. I think having the backup quarterback that they have made it seem like, okay, well, they're not really losing much. Case Keenum's a respectable backup.
Yeah. Who is it? It's the Browns.
Steelers. Pittsburgh.
They have enough weapons on their team that even with the quarterback being
and Chubb will probably be back this week. That was what the thought was. Philly at Detroit. Both of us took Detroit. Now, when you decided to take him, you said, well, they're bound to win one of these.
Yes.
And and that's kind of what it was, too. You know, they've kept these games kind of close.
Yeah.
So I think Philly is a bad enough team that you should be able to beat them.
Yeah.
Will I be shocked if Philly wins? No, because I think these teams are essentially playing to the same caliber.
One and the same?
Yeah.
I that's honestly what it was for me. I was like, okay, if they're out of who they've been playing, they've been really competitive in their games. I feel like they might be able to edge this one out, and that was really what it was. Like, I'm not really sold on Philly, but and I like golf probably more than most people. So,
yeah, we both took the Colts over the Titans. And look, I will admit the Titans are a better team.
I played a really good game last week.
Yeah, I just kind of have a feeling that the Colts are going to pull this one off. And if I'm wrong, well, then too damn bad. Cincy at the Jets. We both took Cincy.
Yes.
We both took the Rams to beat the Texans. You picked the Chargers, who are hosting the Patriots.
Yes.
I picked the Patriots kind of going off of what I just said. They just whooped up on the Jets, put up 50 points on them. And I know the Chargers are a much better team than what are the Jets.
Yeah.
But the Chargers still have to go up against Bill Belichick and his great defensive cheating coaching ways.
So for me, the in my right mind, I think the Chargers aren't as good as they've showed in the earlier in the season. I'm starting to see that they're not as promising as I thought they were earlier on. In my opinion, I don't think they're as good. I mean, they're solid. They're a solid team.
They're solid. They are solid.
But
they're not world beaters yet.
Yeah, they're a team that if you're gonna beat them, you earn that win. That's where I say they are. And that's why I went with that. I think that they might be able to edge out.
I won't
Patriots.
be shocked if I wouldn't even be shocked if the Chargers whooped up on the Patriots.
Yeah.
To be honest, but I just don't think that'll happen. I really think that the Patriots are going to start. I was actually looking at this game last week.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, I have a feeling that the Patriots are going to get it together and they're going to beat the Chargers to show, look, we lost all those close games early on.
Yeah.
And we finally beat a good team.
Yeah, I think for me, it's the Chargers are they might just their cohesiveness as a team might just edge them out, being able to. But I'm not surprised either way. It's one of those, like, if you either one, I shouldn't be surprised to anybody.
Yeah. So we both took the Jags over Seattle. Has a lot to do with Seattle's quarterback.
Yeah.
And both of us said that the Jags would eventually get a few wins.
Yeah.
So I know I'm taking the Washington football team. You're taking the Broncos. I think this is bad football against bad football. And you could flip-flop them for me. It really, I'm just taking Washington just because eventually they're going to win some games.
Yeah.
And the Broncos, they're not playing very good right now.
I like Teddy. I want Teddy to be all right, but same.
Yeah. We both took the Bucks over the Saints. Look, once again, I actually won't doubt the Saints winning this game.
Yeah.
But the smart money's on the Bucks, and right now I said, you know what, I'm gonna take the Bucks.
Yeah. There's nothing else to add
Pretty
on
much
to
just we were Sunday Night Football working with the idea that Dak's playing.
Yep.
We both took Dallas over the Vikings. Yeah. I'm gonna tell you this: if Rush plays as the starting quarterback, I'm switching my pick.
Same. If Rush comes in
as the starter.
Yeah, as the starter.
Not to relieve him, but as the starter.
If he starts the game and they say that they're sitting Dak, then the pick, no, right now, take that as we've changed it to.
Yes, definitely.
Otherwise, so long as Dak is in, we're riding with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Starting the game, if they pull him out to relieve him to
that's another story. It still goes towards Dak's record or whatever.
Yeah.
Giants at Kansas City, Monday Night Football. You got the Giants. Wait, no. You got Kansas City.
Yes.
So do I. And that pretty much is based on what we were talking about earlier with the Chiefs. Yeah. No, we don't think the Chiefs are playing great right now. The Giants are a bad football team.
Yeah.
They're not, I think they got a win last week. So everyone in the NFC East has 2 wins, 5 losses, except for, obviously the Cowboys.
Yeah. That was funny listening to the Breakfast Club. DJ Envy, being from New York, was like, yep, we're in second place in the NFC East. And obviously we don't give a fuck about you being in second place.
Yeah, while they're in second place, they're also in 4th place.
So there's that. But yeah, that was this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Obviously we had a lot of covering over quarterbacks, as we tend to have a lot about quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, but also I think we try to give some insight as to why.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people will throw out, this quarterback's not playing well, so-and-so's playing better. But we break it down a little bit to say, look, why we don't believe in Herbert.
Yeah.
Not to say that Herbert's not going to be good, or what's wrong with Mahomes.
Yeah.
Not just to say, Mahomes isn't playing well. No, it's these little things that can be fixed, but can't be fixed overnight.
Right.
And why the bad stuff is happening.
Yeah, we don't necessarily just go purely off of wins and losses. It's honestly over, like, you can see it in this play or that play, or whatever the case is. Like, we actually look at it from deeper than just pure stats point.
Yeah, because it's funny as I watch these football shows.
Yeah.
And I hear these quote unquote experts, I'm like, man, this fool didn't even watch the game.
Yeah, they 100%. Like he only completed 37% of the passes that were, and those are telling, but it doesn't, tell that the defense was actually where they were supposed to be.
Yeah, or they say, this quarterback did great. They only, they threw 70%, and then but did you watch the game? Because his passes were off.
Yeah.
So they look at the stats and then they formulate their opinions.
Yeah.
And we don't do that. Now, we might not watch every game 100%. Yeah. We watch enough of them or listen to enough of them. And aside from that, know enough about football to know the difference. And a lot of these people, they don't. Maybe their expertise is basketball and they're talking football now.
Yeah.
Or maybe they played and now they're just going off of
If you pay attention to what we do, the sports that I'm not necessarily the strongest, you take over quite a bit of it. Vice versa. I'm stronger in boxing than you are. I watch it more often than you, so I tend to take over those topics more. You're stronger in basketball. You take over more of those more so than I do. So, and as I say, the great thing about us is we try to keep it non-biased, like as much as we can. We even if we say we're being biased, we let you know.
And look, we talk about football more than anything else because, quite frankly, we enjoy that sport more than the others.
Yes.
I love basketball. I really do. But also...
I love boxing season.
But also, to be honest, I think it's easier to break down a sport that they play once a week.
Yeah.
And for us to attack that than it is in this hour-ish time frame.
Yeah.
Than to go through some of these other sports, basketball, whatever have you.
Yeah, ESPN has these every day to cover all these sports, and we're really focusing on one day to get as much of it as we can. And
try to wrap up the previous week. We'd give you a preview of the next week.
Yeah. So, but with that said, guys, man, it's been fun. Until next time, take it easy.
See you later, LA.